We wanted to use the subscription model to fundamentally disrupt and transform the software industry. And so the simple story for Zuora is, hey, there's nothing about what we did to use this business model to transform software that couldn't be applied to all industries. We have a simple vision, we call it the world subscribed, and we believe that we want to create a world where one day you and I don't have to deal with the hassles of product ownership and is it broken, do we replace it, plan obsolescence. We should simply pull out our phones and tap into services to meet with not just for software and for office productivity, but for transportation, food, entertainment, for really all parts of our lives.
I was first attracted to Zuora because we understood the problem of subscription billing and how complex it was from the rest of our portfolio companies, and we understood them to have the best product in class. I was originally attracted to the investment because of Teen himself. He's a force of nature, an absolutely extraordinary marketer with very deep product experience and product expertise, and I just recognized that combination as absolutely stellar for building this company.
And so we had met a bunch of VCs to line up our Series B, and that's where we met Ravi and Jason. They really understood enterprise software. I think Ravi really comes from a career in funding software as a company, software as a service companies. And Jason came with the experience of how to build systems at scale. And he had just come off of Walmart.com and really built $1 billion commerce business. And in many ways, what we do is related to commerce, right? We help companies take orders, process billing in a recurring business model, not a one-time e-commerce business model. But that combination of Ravi and Jason's expertise really sold me as Shasta being the right partner for our Series B round.
Prior to being an investor, and I've been here at Shasta since we started the firm 14 years ago, I spent 5 years at Walmart.com, which was Walmart's e-commerce company done as a separate entity here in Silicon Valley with venture backing. And we grew that business from the ground up, from zero to a very large company, and then we actually sold that back to Walmart and they integrated it in. I knew from that personal pain of having finance operations report to me how difficult it is to have payments and finance as a system. It is mission critical, it has to get done, it's got to be bulletproof, it can't be wrong, and it's prone to fraud because everyone's trying to get at your money. So I had that context, and when I left Walmart.com and joined Shasta when we came together, we'd be sitting in a boardroom and you'd hear the story of the head of sales wants to discount by 10% in the middle of the month, or some customer wants to add 20 seats to an account in the middle of the month. And you'd always see the VP of engineering in the corner like cringing, like curling away, and you'd go, what's going on? And they'd say, well, two guys kludged that system together a few years ago and it's written in something we're not really quite sure, and every time we touch it, everything breaks. And so you saw over and over again that there was this complexity associated with billing for subscriptions that people dramatically underestimated.
Tell me about the pitch and the reception and how that first meeting went.
Well, most entrepreneurs pitch VCs. I think Teen's background was in interrogation. Before I could even get the words out of my mouth of, I'm Jason, he said, so why should I work with you? And it proceeded to get a lot more aggressive from there. It was actually really remarkable, and it actually, I think, is a strength of yours about how you like to, in terms of thinking about marketing, turn things around. And it kind of put me on my heels, but I came out of it feeling, wow, this guy really is driven. He is a force of nature. And he asked really thoughtful questions, and I guess I did okay because he at least continued talking to me. Because he had a lot of choices in that financing, and fortunately chose me. But what I saw in Teen was a really strong, brilliant entrepreneur, driven, passionate, and for the most part understood what he was tackling. I will say that one of the things that at the time we identified as a big risk was I did think you were underestimating the complexity of the problem. And I think that part of the DNA of Salesforce and WebEx and the co-founders of having had a more simple product in the previous generation was one of the things that was going to be something we had to overcome.
How do you do this interrogation to decide who's coming along for the ride, especially knowing that they're going to be a part of your life and potentially kind of your boss?
I didn't realize it was an interrogation, but I do get asked a lot, how do you think about picking investors, picking the board? Let me sort of give you the naive view that I had, actually. I think a lot of entrepreneurs get sort of caught up in percent of the company, voting power and stuff like that. And that's just insanity, right? Because what you're really doing is you're really tackling something that's really, really hard. And it's never been done before. I don't know what the right metaphor is, right? Maybe Lord of the Rings, right? But you have a group of people that are trying to tackle a big challenge. There has to be a camaraderie, there has to be a trust, and there has to be a working, a relationship that allows you to overcome that. And so you got to pick the people that are going to be on your team very, very carefully. And so one of the things that we really liked about Jason was his operational background. Looking back, if we didn't have the right set of people around the table and set working relationships and discussions around the board, it would have been harder, much harder for us to work through, and it's not clear that we would have been able to work through the challenges that we did.
What a board and what investors can help do is help a CEO see when someone's actually leveling out. And the person who may be the extraordinary person to do the first $1 million or a couple $1 million of sales probably is not the right person to take the company to 20 million, and is probably a different person than the executive who has the skills to run a company from 20 to 100 or 100 to 300, because it's just a different skill set of running hundreds of people with multi-departmental, with regions. It's just a different level of organization. And that's true in every functional area. And so I think really helping think through and bringing the pattern recognition that you have from as a board member and investor of seeing that can really help. Our perspective at Shasta is one, it's not the only one, but it's a very entrepreneur-friendly, entrepreneur-centric approach, which doesn't mean we won't challenge you, but it means we're not going to be jerks about it. We try very hard to be respectful. And then what are the other things we bring? We try to bring, and what I think you should look for as an early stage entrepreneur, is someone who can bring strategic thought partnerships. So when you're facing really big challenges, is this person going to be able to really help me think through strategically how to face that challenge and what are the different options? There oftentimes are multiple right answers to a question, but you have to pick one and execute against it. So someone who can help you think through those things, someone who can help recruit, someone who can help with financing, help make introductions and help think about the financing strategy, and someone who can help you think through scaling a company through multiple stages, particularly because when you take on a board member, you're typically taking that person on for a very long time. I've been on Teen's board for over a decade, since the company had a small handful of customers and now is approaching 300 million. No forward-looking statements. So I think those are the types of things that you should look for.
The last 9 years of working with Shasta and Jason and Ravi, and this is everybody at Shasta Ventures has been fantastic. I think what Jason always brought to the table was a calmness because he had sat in the seat before, right? He had built a billion-dollar business, and every time we would go to Jason and we'd say, look, we had a little difficulty, something just happened, we hit a snafu, he would listen to the story, he says, okay, well, that might sound bad to you, but let me share with you 2 stories from my Walmart.com days that was even worse, just to put this in context. And so he was able to really apply his lens and say, look, these are all issues that normal startups go through, you guys are going to work with it, don't worry about it, let's roll up our sleeves, let's solve the problem, and that's been a fantastic partner for us in the last 9 years.
I never doubted that we'd be an entity that would be a good business, that would have some sort of an exit, except for in this 1 year, and I don't remember exactly what year it was, but it was when we were about 20 million of recurring revenue. And it was when you referenced before, when we had a few hundred customers and we had sold some that maybe weren't ideal for our customer profile, and we had a much broader product footprint to build than we'd realized. We didn't realize that there weren't 5 payment gateways we had to integrate with. There were 30 that mattered and another 50 beyond that on the list. We didn't realize that this customer would have this different workflow around their billing and we need to modify the software. So what that led to was real professional services sprawl, where our integrations were not going great and our customer success and we had a lot of challenges in getting customers up and live. But more importantly than that, it wasn't just that we were losing money against that, and we knew we were losing money against it. We didn't really know exactly how much we were losing, and I was quite concerned at that point that if we didn't get our hands around that it actually would, I didn't know that I thought we were going to go out of business, but I thought that we might not be a great company. And I'm pretty sure you know that in hindsight. I was close to standing on the table in a board meeting, jumping up and down about it.
Yeah. No.